When, yeah.
So what we're experiencing here is the connection of family.
Absolutely right.
Because what we call one thing, everyone else calls something else.
But the same
It's the
thing.
same thing.
Right, and that's the same thing when you look at our people. And that's the issue when you talk about voices and the connection of voices. If you divide us into a choir, everybody's voice doesn't have the same tone. And some people have a longer range than others. All right? So that means you might be put in bass, and I might sing both alto and soprano. Someone else may be put in baritones, okay? But they're still voices. But the harmony comes when those voices sing together on the right beat, you see? And so there are different names, but it doesn't make it different than what you have. Everyone still has the voice. So the same thing is they call us all different names as part of the African diaspora. But that doesn't mean we're not all the same still. We're still one family.
Because, one thing we find, being in this country since 1960, we found I see a fragmented to where the Caribbean people was hit. And when you went to the Caribbean community, you had the Lucians on one side, you had the Jamaicans on the Panamanians on the side, but then when you step out, we're all one.
Then we're one.
Yeah,
exactly.
One.
Right.
And that's so important that we have to understand that, because as we talk about the power of the voice, the vote, and we're going forward with this, we have to step in as harmony as well.
Absolutely.
Even though we sound different, we're still one.
We're still one.
That's important. And that's why we're coming out here so important to me, because I've never been here before.
Right.
And you come and you're giving us a little bit of the history. We have the water behind. And as you know, family, water to African people is very important.
Exactly.
It means life, means birth, rebirth. And this is why we're out here. Right. We have the water in the background, but you can't do Gullah without water. You can't do black food without water. It's it's like having rice and peas and no peas.
Okay. Exactly. So what that is. Okay. All right. Something lacking. Yes. But yeah, the thing about it is many times when people come here, they want to do what the tourists do, which is go to the beach. Just like that's another connection with the Caribbean. They don't think about going to the people. They think about going to the beach. All right. But then when they get there, what's the purpose? Is it recreation or is it reconnection? So where the Atlantic Ocean, we sit in the Atlantic Ocean. We live on top of the Atlantic Ocean here in the Gullah Geechee Nation.
Biggest graveyard for us as a people of African descent.
Right, exactly. When we talk about the Middle Passage and coming through it. But what people don't get is the fact that in the Sea Islands, these riverways were the ones that connected us to the plantations that now brought in what was called the black gold. Black cargo is what they called us, all right? And so when the ships came in the Atlantic, they didn't just come all the way into the shore. You can't bring ships in to the shore. So wooden boats that we still make by hand called a bateau boat, those boats were then utilized to unload the cargo, bring them down riverways many times, and then bring them to auction blocks, and from there to various plantations. So these islands that the Gullah Geechees are on got populated also because of these rivers. So that's why for us, water is sacred. I always let people know the land is our family and the water is our bloodline. So when people approach us and say, well, let me buy your land, it's very offensive to us because you're saying to me, auction my whole family now. You see what I'm saying? Because you have blood, sweat, and tears in there. Just like you're saying with the Middle Passage, with the Atlantic Ocean, that being the burial area for many of the bones of our ancestors, how do you then say to me, it's just all right to let you go dredge it, pollute it, do whatever, or if a portion of my so-called property extends into it, let you buy that? You see?
But you just said something interesting just now, because I remember I was talking to Elder Town, she told me about what we're doing, reconnecting, and the harmony we're doing with the fishermen.
Yes.
The Gullah Nation.
Yes.
Where are we with the fishermen, with the water and the waterways and stuff right now?
Wow, let me tell you. The Gullah Geechee Fishing Association is 1 year old now. We founded it last year in May because there's legislation that is steadily pushing Gullah Geechee fishermen out of the waterway from traditional fishing, because what has happened is people who don't do it are the ones in government who are now initiating laws. And what they're basing it on is largely other cultures of people who do what we call derby fishing. They go out and decimate the ocean, decimate the river when they go. They use tools and implements and techniques we would never use. They also do it all year long, wherein our ancestors always had harmony with the cycles of the moon. All right? So not only, as you and I talked about before we even got going today, tide. All right? And there's always a statement, time and tide wait for no man or woman, right? And so with the tide, you know it goes in and out a couple of times a day. All right? So now you have to watch the cycle of the moon to know what time of day that's going to be. Well, our ancestors also planted and harvested on land according to that, and from the river according to that. So they knew when not to shrink. They knew when not to catch bass. They knew when not to go after the shark. Okay, yeah, we do eat shark. Okay, they don't just eat us, we eat them. Okay, and so here it is. They knew all these things, but then commercial fishing and recreational fishing started happening. So when commercial boats go out, they trawl and catch everything that's in there. So now you have creatures that are too young. And so now if we don't have the generation of them coming up later, we won't have that species. You have recreational fishers who go out for the day as a tourist. And if they catch 2 big buckets or bins worth of fish, they're not going to eat them. Because the whole purpose was just to go out for the day and sun and say I could do it. But I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not going to get my hand dirty scaling fish and do all. No, that was fun. You have at it. So now dead fish may get thrown back in the water. You see, and that now is depleting the population, the ocean.
You just said something, this is coming back a little bit about the voice, the power you use.
Right.
You said the people in power
right.
are making these laws that's hurting. And
hurting
this is why,
traditional
once again, come back to why your voice is so important. The
Absolutely.
voice, the vote is important. And we're here to about power, one, the harmony. And you just touched on it again, because if we don't go and exercise our vote
right.
to get the people in power that we want,
then you don't have anything. But understand something. That statement you just made has been made 1,000,000 times plus.
yeah.
And let me tell you where that statement is faulty. Because you can vote somebody in all you want to, but if you don't hold them accountable once they're in, your vote still didn't matter.
Right.
A lot of people get in positions and then that's all they want. They wanted a position, they wanted the check that go with the position, so they can wear the nice blue suit with the blue necktie and the white shirt. Y'all know me, y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay, and so here it is. This is what they do. And once they get their Mercedes, right? and all of these types of things, they sue. Y'all call it SUV, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore about you and what your issues were that this person said they were going to go up there and deal with. Now it becomes somebody can simply take them golfing or to lunch and they forget their issues. You see what I'm saying? Or off the slide their wife and their little girlfriends and whoever some tickets to go somewhere they never been and they forget the issue. So the point is that the people have to not only vote, but then hold them accountable for why you voted them into position. Otherwise, the vote is still for naught. And that's where I think people of African descent fall short. Yeah.
And we tell people, on your refrigerator, we have the 911, we have the doctors, and you should also have your elected officials.
Elected officials numbers.
Because
right.
if your street lights are not working, don't call the police. Call
no, that's right.
If you have an issue in your neighborhood, don't call the police. Call your elected
right.
officials.
Exactly.
That's how you keep them accountable. When you call the office, they know you're on them.
Exactly. They act. They need to act.
And that's why the harmony is important. That's the power of the vote. One vote, the harmony is very important. Because if I go vote and I take 5 people with me, I'm no longer 1. I'm now 6.
Exactly.
And if everyone take 1 person with me, that's 6 now. It's triple.
It's right.
So we have to
practice.
The words are nice. No, I tell people, don't say you are a registered voter. Tell me you're an active voter.
Active voter.
Because an active voter is not only pulling the levers, also staying on top of that. And this is why, as we get ready for the next presidential election, we are doing this project because we want our people to understand the power of their vote. Their vote is very important because if we don't do that, the fishermen can't go fish.
Right.
It's going to affect you down here and it's going to affect me in New Jersey.
Absolutely.
Because we say, oh, they're not doing nothing down here. They're not doing nothing good. Why should we pay them any money?
Right, exactly. And the thing is like you just said, it'll affect you in New Jersey. And a lot of people don't think about the connections between here and the north that have always been there. But many of the foods that people get in their supermarkets and your fish markets and all of that actually come from here in the Gullah Geechee Nation. They're harvested here and they're truck farmed out here.
And even the farmers who come every summer, they come up north with the watermelon and stuff. And we see them in the grocery store parking lot with the trucks and the watermelon. We drive up in Harlem, we see them in Harlem on 125th Street selling the watermelon. In Brooklyn, we see them down, we see them. These watermelons come from here.
From down here. And many of those are Gullah Geechee farmers who have been doing that since the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, when a lot of Gullah Geechee started sending their children northward to get a job, where they felt there were better paying jobs there. But they didn't send them there to get for themselves. They were supposed to be for the whole family. So they were supposed to go better themselves so that they could send something back. We would say, send something shiny thing and thing like that back for the rest of the family. So that this way the family could keep their land, they could keep the children in school, they could keep clothing on their backs, so on like that. Now some folks, once they got into the mainstream and the mainstream culture, it's as if they drowned in their good sense. So they started being individualistic. And that has become a negative aspect to a lot of the lifestyles, and that's why I say to you, you made a connection with the North and South, and many of our folks who've gone north try to disconnect themselves from the South.
We have the same in the Caribbean. We have people from the Caribbean, when they come up here, they don't speak Caribbean. They want to eat American food.
Yeah, what exactly is that? Yeah, please tell me.
Rice, okay, so you're
going to cook the hot dog.
Cook the rice different.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what is American food? I mean, the hot dog, they claim the apple pie. That's all I know. Yeah, and that's another thing.
Let me ask you one more question as we wrap this up.
Yeah.
Now, for those who are just finding out about Gullah Geechee Nation and finding out the connection between the Caribbean, Africa, and heritage, can you give us maybe one or two books that you suggest they read to help them educate themselves?
Now, somebody might call this shameless self-promotion, but it's not. It's because this is the first anthology that was ever done on Gullah Geechee history, heritage, and culture, done by a Gullah Geechee person, which happened to be me. I was asked to edit a book called The Legacy of Igbo Landing, Gullah Roots of African American Culture. You can go to www.claritypress.com, or you can go to www.gullahgeechee.biz, to order The Legacy of Igbo Landing. It has maps in it, recipes in it. It has charts and tables that give you the linguistics of our people and the African ethnic groups from which those linguistics came into the Gullah Geechee language. So it's a good overview. It also has artwork in it from several of our native Gullah Geechee artists, as well as history and stories and so on. So that is the top book. The next one is The Gullah People and the African Heritage, which was written by the late William Pollicer, God bless the dead. Outstanding book. I'm a scientist, maybe I'm biased. The book is based on genetic science, and then it's incorporated with what people might consider anthropological findings about the traditions of Gullah Geechees and how they've maintained them, but how they are still linked as a living link to the motherland. So that would be the second one that I would suggest to people. And then a third one might be for those who are interested in the language itself, would be a book that was called Africanisms in the Gullah Dialect. But we now know, of course, Gullah is a language, which is by the late Lorenzo Dow Turner, God bless the dead. And so those would be a primer, okay, a primer for you to get going with those three and then expand out. And of course, with the websites that I mentioned, there are other books on there about self-determination. There's other books on the history of St. Helena Island we've been talking about, and so on. So you can order a plethora of things as well as CDs. And of course, we have Gullah Geechee TV, because folks are so visual now.
And plus, you have you on the internet, so
absolutely.
Now, if I'm in Wisconsin or I'm in California, how can I get you on the internet? I know you have a program.
Yeah,
so I listen to it. So, but
right. How do you connect? Yeah, you listen to the radio program, right? Gullah Geechee Rhythm Radio. So if you go to blogtalk.com, type in Gullah Geechee, or just type in Google Gullah Geechee Rhythm Radio, RIDDIM Radio, and you will find me there every Monday, 7 p.m. And I know Sisters in Harmony have the show on Blog Talk too. And then if you go to YouTube and you go to Gullah Geechee or Amp Turn It Up channel on their Gullah Geechee TV or Amp Turn It Up channel. Every week we have an episode that gives you and chronicles our story today and reports to you what is going on that's currently happening, but also teaches you the history and our legacy as Gullah Geechees. And you can also go to www.officialgullahgeechee.info, and the links to all of these are right there.
See, I asked you to do that because about a year ago I was listening to you on the radio and you gave some information and I was like, what? I was like, what? Okay. You gave some information that connected me back to Barbados and St. Lucia.
Okay.
Which I didn't know.
All right.
And that's why I'm letting, for those from the Caribbean who are listening, it's important that we check this out because this is very important to our link. You guys should be coming down here to South Carolina, to see what they're doing down here because you will see. I'm standing here and I think I'm in St. Lucia right now. I know if you're Bajan, this is like Barbados
all the time.
I feel like I'm back home in St. Lucia right now. I think I'm up north around Rosalie area right now because the link is here.
It is.
And the spirit is here.
Absolutely.
Our people, we feel the spirit here all the time.
All the time.
So it's like, thank you for coming. I see the rate. You're getting a blessing from the ancestors.
Yes, definitely. The libation is falling. So all 100 children know, we always say, Hunter must take care of the root for heal the tree. So peace and blessings to Hunter.
Thank you. Peace out.
That was very... Okay, and 1, 2, 3...
100 children, we did the Hunting Island Nature Center. One of the place where the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition, the Gullah Geechee...
we got that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. 3, 2...
100 children, we did at the Hunting Island Nature Center and things like that. This should have won the place with the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition and the Gullah Geechee Fishing Association. Spend plenty of time and meeting and things, but rather us and learning about what is going on here upon the land in the Gullah Geechee Nation. So we going inside for a little while. Let's check them out.
Turtle?
We call it turtle.
Tortoise?
Or tortoise. Coulda.
Oh,
that's what we call them. Coulda. Yeah, coulda. And so this a lily one. Him don't grow bigger than that. But we got the big one. That's what we call them. A tortoise, but still a coulda.
This one that come out over here and lay the eggs out here?
Yes. Yeah, and they're endangered because of a lot of building that's going on along the coastline. And then also they were endangered because they actually were a delicacy. Gullah Geechees would eat coulda soup and also the eggs, so a delicacy. So now people don't eat them anymore. We try to let them let them grow.
So they're indigenous to the island?
Yes, they are.
More education.
Yeah. One of the things that people always take note of when they come here, and that's why the Nature Center even has this here, is the Spanish moss. This is always symbiotic with our oak trees. Now, for Gullah Geechee people, it's also a healing herb. We use this for high blood pressure, not just for decorations. And we found out that people use it in stores and things like that, selling it as a decoration, but they don't actually realize the healing purpose. And so when you look at an oak tree with Spanish moss hanging, one of the things we always feel like is that if that tree would start for cracky teeth with 100 children, 100 would have yeti the story of we ancestor them from way back on and things like that. 100 would have yeti that tree and tell 100 about all the joy and pain, everything else would have been going on right round all the time. Because the longer the beard, the older the tree. And so just like with we all the people and things like that, the more great 100 to see, 100 should yet more wisdom to claim from them too. Body. That, she's like, let me get out of the shot. It's like, you see, we have the cranes that we often have here. You have the osprey that's up there that's flying on.